Thank you all very much. Nice to see everybody. Good morning. I hope you enjoyed that that little blurb there. Some very interesting stuff. I don't know if you've noticed, and of course, there's some great things there. I have to say, I tried getting salespeople to drive customers, service customers, and that was never met with somebody going, okay, give me the keys, I'm going, that's great. Which is very gung-ho, but mind you, it is Florida, so a much more cooperative place. Welcome everybody. This is the Auto Hub show, as we've already said, started with a little bit of a video, some very sharp people there that obviously do some things right. They made a YouTube video, so they must have. And joining us today is our customer retention show. We have Brandy Lindgren joining us from way up north, well, compared to Joe, way up north in Edmonton, Alberta. And Brandy is Brandy at Brandy Solutions. And Brandy, can take a moment and introduce yourself, please.
Hi, thank you. I'm super excited to be here. Really looking forward to the discussion. I have spent 23 years in automotive, mostly in automotive finance. Going as and holding positions such as GSM, corporate levels, corporate director of finance. Now I am working on a few different projects, an industry innovative tool to be launching very soon, and a dealer system that I'm launching, which really helps with everything from customer experience to retention.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us. You're a first-time joiner here, so hopefully it's a good experience. Also joining us from further south, the land of permanent summer, is Joe Ingram from LA. I do believe that's what it says in your LinkedIn profile, Joe, who's the president of BDC Genius, the CEO of Ingram Interactive. Joe, introduce yourself and welcome.
Yes, I chose to live in California because we have no weather. Right? It's a great thing. It rains 4 days a year and the traffic just comes to a complete halt. So I choose to enjoy that. But yes, thanks so much. Joe Ingram. I am the CEO of Ingram Interactive. We are an automotive sales training company. We work for a lot of large dealerships to teach their sales department. We also have the BDC Genius part of it, which is for service and sales, handling the virtual prospects, turning them into money that's paid. 20 plus years in the dealership world. Started as a BDC director, worked myself up to general manager, which they said can't be done, right? They're like, oh, well, where you entered, you can't get there. So that just pissed me off more. So it took me 4 years to become a GM of a dealership and from getting into the car business, but an electrical engineer by degree. So if we want to get nerdy and get a spreadsheet out, let's do it. So
yeah, we don't want to talk about spreadsheets. I still can't figure out those darn things. I end up calling my tech director, my oldest daughter, and who works with them all the time. So the creative stuff my youngest daughter does, but the tech stuff, it's the older one. So thank you so much for joining us. Last but not least, we have our good friend Barry Jordan, and who's from White Glove Performance in Calgary, Alberta. And actually, you know, it's funny, up north in Alberta, they have a saying, there's only 2 seasons in Alberta, which is winter and construction. So California has 1 season and they have 2. So Barry, just before we get you introduce yourself, I'm going to go to our next set of slides here, which is our sponsors, as you and John Latka sitting beside you on my screen anyways. Our sponsors, and of course we couldn't do this without them. So with
the way I heard it, Jeff, was not the summer or winter in construction. It was winter and bad sledding.
Yeah. Exactly. So let me just go to this our back here to share this screen and move on to our. Whoops! I started it again. Call me Britney Spears. I did it again.
Hi, I'm John Latka.
There, I told you, John.
Why you should join Auto Hub.
We were talking about
with
how,
me
way back when,
figuring out how to increase sales and operational efficiency can be overwhelming. So we'll show you our simple performance management program.
This didn't work the run through, so please. There we go.
We didn't doubt you at all that you were the not tech guy.
Oh. Okay, so here we have our platinum sponsor, which is Retail Resilient, a nice Facebook marketing company, helps with customer retention.
This is Gail Rubenstein, the founder and CEO of Retail Resilient.
Car dealers all over the country love working with us, and let me tell you why. We have 2 product solutions that they absolutely love using. The first product solution is a Facebook and Instagram school where we build out a curriculum for salespeople and managers. We teach them how to create new car offers, used car offers, and get pre-approved offers. We also have a campaign management program where we generate leads for them, and then they do what they do best, they sell cars. So we train their sales staff on how to handle social media leads. Our car dealers typically say to us, I had the highest grossing month in the history of my business. I'm up double in my volume year over year. We even had a client the other day that told me that he was absolutely blessed because he loved our customer service. Everyone at Retail Resilient works remotely from home. I hire only car people from all over the country, so I hire all A players. They're really good at what they do, and we absolutely love helping car dealers. So give us a try, give us a shout. You know, any opportunity, we would love to see if we're a fit to work with you.
And now, if this thing works.
Hi, I'm John
Lacka again.
And here's why you should join
talking about
Autohub's
how,
Speak with
way
me
back when
this Friday.
the stuff that
figuring out how to increase sales.
Okay, we have book recommendations. Now, I have to explain to everybody that Ian does this on a different platform, and I don't have that software, so he put it to me in PowerPoint, but he thinks he put it over something else, and I know he did because John has introduced himself to us 42 times.
Yeah, and don't worry about mine, Jeff. I'll just touch base real quick.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely do yours, and I'll see if I can screw that up too. A few book recommendations we generally do every show is here we have by Michael D. Johnson and Friends, The Customer Retention in the Automotive Industry. Never Lose a Customer Again by Joey Coleman, Turning Any Sale into Lifelong Loyalty in 100 Days. And The Automatic Customer by John Warrillow. And let's see if we can do this one. Aha, we got Barry.
He's got my pose.
This is Barry Jordan from whitegloveperformancegroup.com. I'd like to take a few moments of your time to share how we can make you more profitable. Dealerships all over North America are using our cloud-based power dialing platform, Touchpoint, to manage their outbound sales-generating phone calls. With Touchpoint, your agents can make up to 50 calls an hour. Leave a voicemail, send an email with a link to a video or to your website, all with a click of the mouse. We specialize in empowering your teams to make the calls that make the sales. How can Touchpoint help you increase profit? Check us out, whitegloveperformancegroup.com. That's whitegloveperformancegroup.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Barry. Barry, one moment I'll call on you because while I'm on a roll, I'm going to play John.
There you go.
Hi, I'm John Lacka, and here's why you should join Autohub's
We were talking
Speak
about
with
how,
me this
way
Friday.
back.
There we go.
The road to a sale has never been easier. Introducing the 2-day sales process workshop. Whether it's giving your new employees a head start or re-energizing your sales team, everyone can benefit from this relational approach to sales. Attendees will learn to create an outstanding buying experience by aligning the sales process with the buying process and helping customers through the phases of selection, mental ownership, and commitment. With preset performance standards and accountability criteria, we teach the critical skills and behaviors necessary for long-term success, like making unforgettable first impressions to building lasting relationships that result in repeat and referral business. Through lectures, group discussions, PowerPoint presentations, and helpful Q&A sessions, everyone walks away with the knowledge and tools they need to succeed. Included are detailed workbooks with daily routines and framed certificates of accomplishment. Those we've trained have reported closing ratios up to 53.9% and sales volumes up to 235 units per year. Are you ready to maximize your sales team's potential with our 2-day sales process workshop? Contact Automotive Business Solutions today.
Well, thank you for the patience, everybody. Do not hire me for your tech, but I think I'm a pretty good talker. So, Barry, if you can take a moment and reintroduce yourself after your video. Aha, you're on mute, Barry.
Not anymore. Anyway, yeah, Barry Jordan. I'm with White Glove Performance Group. Our primary focus is working with the technology called Touchpoint. which is a power dialer, cloud-based power dialer that allows agents, especially BDC agents, to reach out to 50 people an hour. We were at about 80 people an hour till COVID hit. And then everybody has started answering their phones more, and they were happy to talk to people. So we're at 50. But again, that's actually what you're looking for, is conversations, not voicemails. It allows the dealership to effectively reach out and make sure that they're talking to yesterday's service customers, making sure that they're talking to tomorrow's service customers. And those are just sometimes big task jobs that sometimes get pushed aside because they're just a little bit mind numbing. And so our software allows us to do that. I've been in the business for over 25 years, 15 of that as a GM. And it took me a lot longer than you, Joe. So I'd like to read your book when you put that out as to what you did to be successful. But no, you know what? I love the automotive industry. It's fantastic. I saw an opportunity to branch off and do my own thing, and I took that opportunity, and it's been fantastic. So seeing the car business from pretty much all fronts and facets and ups and downs, that's me. Back to you, Jeff.
Great, thank you very much. Thanks everybody for being here. It's funny how we have a very depth of knowledge on our calls all the time. We have people that have worked many positions in the industry, and it's very funny because customer retention is a word on everybody's mind. And we saw in our video the fact that what these two particular dealerships do to retain their customers. And we just mentioned a moment ago the fact that this one place has salespeople drive customers. I made kind of a comment like that isn't as easy as it looks. Joe, of course, snickered, and which goes to show it's not just a Vancouver Canadian thing or a Canadian thing, it's everywhere. But so very cool, very interesting. Please give me your opinion, and we'll start with Joe. Why is 40% customer retention okay in service drives?
I'll tell you, typically, because unless I'm getting punished for not having it, I don't look at it. Right. So as soon as the manufacturer says, hey, some of your money is now based on customer retention, then I go look at it. But most of the time, right, all owners, as we go through, I'm one of those guys that became a GSM and then became a service director. And so again, that's normally not the case before you become a GM, where you operate on both sides of the house. And most of the time it's, look, I'm just going to grab as much as I can that comes in the door, and we're not going to actively pursue it. And so too often if everybody comes from variable, then guess what? The whole dealership is ran like variable, which is, we can't predict anything. We can't do, and you're like, wait, fixed is supposed to be fixed for a reason, that I can count on it month after month. And then how do I get fixed absorption above 100%? So then sales can play variable all day long, and we don't care what the variable is. It's all gravy. But again, 40% is because I'm not watching it and I'm not understanding the full value of it. And if there isn't anybody out there telling you it, right? If you look at it, go to 20 groups, right? Even in the 20 group itself, when you go in, they go, oh yeah, and what's your service retention? Okay. And then they move on to the next piece, and they're like, now how do I sell more cars? How do I sell more cars? And so the focus is not on the correct side to get there. And that's where you look and say, okay, as soon as you tie an actual benefit to it, that is an immediate benefit, then you'll see that they change their status and they go, hey, we need to get 60, 70, 80% of these people in. And they forget that if you're at 40% capture rate, okay, and you lose 25% of all your customers every year because they move, sell, or die, right? That's a built-in attrition. You're never going to gain any ground. And you're really only doing what? Capturing another 20% is what you're actually getting to hit that 40, because that's also last year's 20% that decided to come in and hang out with you again another year, right? Toyota shows when they do the 2-year free maintenance, and then they go by the 3rd year, it's an 80% drop off. That's why the answer was, hey, can we go ahead and sell the 3-year maintenance for all the leases so that at least the car gets maintained all the way through, and we know, and we have records, and it makes it more valuable. But again, it's again, dealership experience is not going to be what they want it to be. The person is running in and seeing people with the wrong things, but there's little things you can tweak. And I don't want to take over everything. We can make it more of a discussion other than Joe's just keeps rambling that goes on. But
well, Joe, frankly, we keep rambling on our end, so what the heck. It's very interesting what you say, because we joked around about the salesperson doesn't want to drive the service customer, but it also, you got a service advisor who's only worrying about their end of the coin, and not worrying about getting that customer back into another car, so at least they can get them back to them. And actually, this leads right into Brandy here, because her and I had a discussion just before we started. She's up in Edmonton, and for those of you who tune in and aren't familiar, Alberta was one of the biggest economic drivers in Canada because of the oil industry and because of various issues, not mostly political. Well, mostly political. They're in big trouble. And it used to be in Alberta that people would walk in and say, well, okay, listen, I'm making $150,000 a year working on the oil rigs. Get me a truck. And now they actually have to do things. So, Brandy, what's your opinion of this now that I gave you a nice lead in?
Right. Well, at first I was not shocked because I do know the industry, right? And, we also know what plays in. But, a few things that struck chords for me in all of this. First, exactly what Joe just said, working on it versus working in it, right? They are two different things. And very often when somebody transitions to the manager role, they can't take that hat off. You're engulfed in it, you're buried knee deep, and you really are working on what's in front of you. And so, you noticed the one thing in that video is, that Jack Brennan started to implement. So he's the one that's working on it. He's creating these solutions in-house, and he's creating a process. That process feeds into everything, including the communication in-house. They have a huge, massive dealership, and yet they still manage to maintain communication. The other as well, and I'm a strong believer, of course, because I come from finance, is we've all talked about these retention tools, service retention tool, PPM, like, are you looking at what your lease retention is, right? So, we're talking about 40%. We even know that even often, the average, I did the calculation of the top 39 dealers for top penetration just on repeat customers of the brand. And that averages out itself at just under 35%. These contributing factors, if you're not making yourself stand out, if the only thing that's keeping your customer is a 2-year PPM, you have bigger problems.
Yeah, for darn sure. It's a very good point. Barry, how about your opinion on this?
Well, actually, a couple of things, Jeff, to your comment about the sales guys driving the service customers. I don't think there's ever been a value proposition properly put together for the salesperson to do that. It's been just you want to play lot guy for an hour because we're swamped out back. And that just doesn't work unless you can sit down and actually put a value proposition together, put some closing percentages together, drive 100 customers, sell a car, whatever the thing is, but you got to have something for them. And I think that's where that system falls apart. And the reason I say that is I was able to successfully put it into place. And what we did is we actually did it after the fact when we had the 4 o'clock rush for pickup. We actually had the sales guys working with service. They would go around the back, they would bring the customer's car around, and they would make special note of the kilometers and something about it. And then the next day they would call the 5 people whose cars they pulled around, and they would just say, hey, by the way, I pulled your car around. I was just helping service out. I don't typically work in there, but I have a buyer for your car. Would you be interested in selling your car? Keep it in pretty good shape. I just happen to have a buyer looking for that car. And we were able to present them with actual percentages of, you drive this many cars around, you're likely to buy this many, and you buy this many, you're likely to sell this many, and we can put it into value. So that, I just want to touch on that real quick. But I think where the 40% falls apart, the biggest drop is how sales hands the customer to service. It is an absolute atrocious in our industry. If the restaurant industry did that, or the hotel industry handed a customer off like that, they would be broke. And we were up front of the building, You know, Joe alluded to this, sell cars, have fun, get the glamour, get all the glory. And then we just kind of say, well, in 90 days, hopefully they show up back there, and we'll just keep doing what we do. We'll just keep filling that funnel, and hopefully the number is there. But really, we should be calling them. We should be introducing them, having them to customer appreciation nights, showing them how the tech works, making sure their phones programmed, their seats working properly, all the stuff that needs to happen, and introduce them properly to service, not some formal, yes, this is Bill, they're a service writer. And meanwhile, Bill's standing there doing the pee-pee dance because he's got 87 ROs he's got to close off, and that, like, he's not there to meet anyone. He's got no interest at all. And they can feel that. So, but it needs to be done properly and strategically. And I think that's where our 40% falls off the biggest, is because we actually don't care. And 40% is just what's flowing over the funnel for us.
Yeah. Well, it's a very good point, because how many dealerships do we see where the service writers are located where the sales department is? The sales department, like, it's a centralized thing. Usually it's services over here, sales is over there, and the customer knows they're dealing with two different businesses. And it's very funny, you know, to go to my next question for you. Joe said something very interesting here. And you go to a 20 group.
Joe always does, Jeff.
I know.
Yeah.
I read that right here. It says, Joe says interesting thing.
I messaged him privately in the chat. Yes.
Yes. Say Joe's great. Joe's great.
Yeah.
But no, it's very interesting, because you mentioned the 20 groups. And I've been to these 20 groups, and it's exactly what you said. They sit down and they got the facilitator in front, and you go through the agenda, and then there's CSI takes 15 seconds, unless the manufacturer's pissed off at them. Then your service, you know, hours per RO, and how do we get that up? Why aren't oil changes? Why is Jiffy Lube, Mr. Super Lube, whatever? And then you go, okay, let's sell some more cars. And that's obviously a problem. So Joe, seeing as how you're on the screen in front of me, not saying you're first again, but what are the low-hanging fruits of opportunity to expand the service drive sales and therefore drive retention?
So one of the things I'm going to say too is that when we're in the 20 groups and we go through, right, the answer is, okay, how do I get better CSI? Is their first question in the 15 seconds, right? They go, what do I need to do to game the system? Yeah. Right. And you're like, wait, you forgot to actually take care of the customer, right? If we actually took care of them, then that would be gaming the system, but we're looking for the cheapest, easiest way out. Okay. One of the things I'll tell you, like, how do I get a service customer to come back in? And again, not saying anybody's, you know, my age, but I'm going to go with John's hair color matching mine here and say that we're somewhere close. But
30.
we all, when it's time to get an oil change, what do? We look up in the upper left-hand corner of our windshield where that little cellophane sticker thing was. So in every dealership I ran or that I coach, I say, at PDI, print one of those and put the first mileage interval and the phone number and put it up on the top. So now I have that, oh, if this is what we typically do and what we've trained people to do for years, why aren't we doing it at PDI so that every new car on my lot has it? Every used car that goes through recon should have the next mileage interval sticker up in the windshield. That automatically they go, when do I get my, oh, it's there. Oh, and there's a phone number. Let me go ahead and call it and schedule it.
Could it only be because the tech gets 0.75 for a PDI, but 1.0 for an oil change?
Right. But at the same time, we've never told them to go put it on there, because to them, they know they do it on every car that comes into service for that 1.0 oil change that they got. But again, the answer is, can we explain to somebody in service that go, if you do this, you get more oil changes later? And if they go, yeah, but I don't believe in it, I go, then great. I'm the boss. You're the employee. Do it anyway. It's part of my checklist of what it is that gets done, because that's something that's completely inexpensive. And for 15 cents, you can pick up another 5-10% in service, because it's only when the person goes, what? Oh, crap, I need an oil change. Right. And then they go to the Jiffy Lube or whatever's next to them, or they ask their coworker, where did you get yours done? And they're like, oh, we can do this and we can do that. Right. And it's, again, I train at one of, or the largest dealership that's out there. That dealership itself offers flatbed service. And they said, we will send a flatbed to your work, pick up your car, bring it, service it, and drop it back off. We put 0 miles on it. And we'll do that for free as part of your oil change. You're like, are you kidding me? Right? Everybody goes, that's way too expensive. And they're like, no, losing that next sale and all of the warranty work and the service work is what's too expensive. But again, am I thinking the end of the month, or am I thinking 3 years down the line that comes in? Right.
And I'll make you a bet, but when they get that customer that got their car flatbedded, gets it back and says, you put a nail in my tire, they don't argue with them, they just fix it.
Yeah, they just fix it. But imagine this. You're sitting at work and you go, oh, hang on, I got to go give my keys to the guy outside. And everybody at work goes, what are you talking about? They look out, they see a flatbed branded with the company name. They watch the guy carefully pick your car up, roll it up on the thing, put it down. And everybody is standing outside at that point going, what's going on? How much did they charge you for that? Oh, no, it's included. Oh, wow, I should probably go there. That's how the other people lost and got themselves to 40%, because somebody saw the flatbed of this dealership and they went, oh my goodness, I'd rather have that. And then they won.
Very good point.
Joe, it's an interesting point. And just to touch on really quickly, the one thing that actually you used the absolute perfect word when you said gaming the system. And it's funny how people will spend more time and energy trying to game the system than actually do it properly. And you know, two of the best practices that we use in our system is, one, we make sure that the service manager once a month phones every customer that was in for service without a stock number, because that means that they are new to the dealership through the service department, and that means they're either mad at the other service department or they moved. And when they get a call from a service manager saying, thanks, we know you got lots of options, they are blown away. You know, they got in a screaming match with the last guy. Now this guy suddenly cares. The other one that almost every dealership doesn't know is how many people they lose every month due to the fact of they can't market to them due to CASL in Canada or CAN-SPAM in the US or whatever the case may be. So they come in for service. A few months later, they happen to pop into a Mr. Lube because they were close, or they're on holidays, or the spouse takes the car somewhere else or does something else. And then they slowly lose that timeline, and now they're not marketable to anymore. And the dealership doesn't even know how many that is. Meanwhile, they got 100 a month falling off the back end. And all they have to do is reach out to them, run a very simple sale, and bring them back into the database again so they can continually market to them. And I just find it amazing how many people fall off the back end of a dealership, and how much money they spend up front trying to get another customer. So they're up front spending $500 a customer trying to get a new one. And out back, they're falling off the end, and it would cost them absolutely virtually nothing to retain them.
Right. It'd cost a phone call from their hourly person they're paying anyway, right? I run what they call the customer appreciation sale for all those people that disappeared, right? The ones that have faded off kind of deal. That's great. That's a report in any service CRM that says who has not been in my shop in the last 6 months, right? And you go out there and you look for them. So I'd say, let's go at 9 months so that we know that you completely missed your 6-month service, right? And you're out there. And then I call with whatever the service special is we have. Guess what? They're not reading your emails. They never look in their mailbox for a service special, right? I don't know about you guys. When you guys go, ooh, I need furniture, do you go, let me go to my mailbox and see who's going out of business this week? No, you
That's
don't.
carpets,
right? You turn around and go, let me go online, or let me go do this. Well, great. Are we reaching out to the people the right way? But I do what I call and say, I just want to let you know that you have an unused discount voucher in our system, right? And I've had people go, yeah, but I don't know where I put it. And I'm like, well, of course you wouldn't. I made it up in my head an hour ago. And I'm calling you to let you know that you have an unused discount voucher, which happens to match the same oil filter, right? Rotation 1,000 point check special that I have in those mailers you ignored and all that other stuff. And if they went to someplace else and they go, well, I just got my oil change, I go, let me see if I can get it extended for you to the next service interval, because it was expiring at the end of this month. Let me see if I can get it extended. and then you put them on hold and go, play the Jeopardy song, then come back and go, yes, my manager said he'll extend it to you on the next one. Now I can bring that person back in. But who's actually out there dialing it?
Right. Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Well, there's auto dialers for that.
Right.
Well,
but
nobody
has this script to go, hey, go call the person, right? If you tell a BDC person and you just say, can you call this guy and get him back in? They're going to go, hey, do you need an oil change? Right. And the person's going to go, no, I just had it. And they're going to go, okay, well, think of us again for the next one. And
the other one, Joe, that we have a lot of success with that I'll share here is we actually encourage our dealerships to put together a $1 wiper blade sale. And it's just for the people who are those 9 months, 10 months, whatever the criteria you've selected.
But Barry, they don't use wipers in LA.
Yeah, they will. Right. 4 times a year they do.
No, they crack before we ever use them, right?
But what the deal is it's really tough to say no to a $1 wiper blade, factory wiper blade that the dealership's going to install for you. And they will virtually drive across the city for a $1 wiper blade. But now you've done business with them, you can remarket to them again and you can re-energize them again. So even if they don't want to engage with an oil change or a 1,000-point inspection or whatever you got going, that $1 wiper blade is a tough one to say no to.
Yeah, right, for sure.
But it's also when they come into the service drive, why aren't we looking at wiper blades and selling a wiper blade?
Yep,
right.
There's 3 of them.
I mean, you pop up and go, there you go. I just added another $30 worth of profitability to my ROs. If you got a 10% take rate, right? How much did you just add to your service department with your highest gross to net ratio in your store, right? Why is it we're not doing this? When I worked for the Joe Verdi group and I used to work with as soon as I talked to a general manager, I would say, hey, you know what? What if I showed you a way to pay for the training? And they're like, what are you talking about? And I had a spreadsheet that I made. Sorry, Jeff. Yeah. And so on the spreadsheet was, I blacked out all the cells just for a couple ones and said, type in how many service repair orders you have. Right. And then I did, and here's a 3% conversion on wiper blades. And then I go, look, we paid for the training for the next 4 months just because you have profitability that's built into this. And they go, oh, wow, really? And you go, yeah, look where you need to look. And
well, and then when they go to their next dealer 20 group, they've got an extra line per RO in there. And
yeah,
and they're off like, the radar. They're good.
We're rock stars. Yeah.
They celebrate this person. You know, it's very funny. You mentioned wiper blades. How many used car managers don't spend the money on wiper blades, and the first thing the customer hits by accident when they get in a used car is a wiper that goes. Brandy, you haven't had a chance to give your opinion.
Can you follow up that Chewbacca impersonation?
Yeah. Oh yes.
Oh, well, you know what? I'm a bit of a fan of the franchise. So
nice.
Brandy, please.
I do have to say I love the unused discount voucher. That is brilliant.
Send me your email. I'll send you the script.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
Give it away to everybody.
You know, a couple things. Obviously, for low-hanging fruit, I think, and I will say, business managers are probably going to hate me for saying this, but taking out post-sale warranty solicitation from finance and putting it into service. A quote literally should be done with every single customer that comes in the door for service, every single customer. The most successful stores I've worked with actually distributed the appointment list for the following day to the finance managers who very often did nothing with it. So huge opportunity. What's that?
They're really busy.
Yeah, they're so busy. Well, and I will say, okay, I was in finance for a very long time. I was a hustler. I had my lunch in my drawer, always at busy stores. But, you know, and that's just it, trying to work with that side. And we've been trying to work with that side to do post-sale solicitation for as long as they've been around, and it's not working. So that would be massive, is just, you know, taking it right out of server, right out of finance for post-sale anything and putting it into service. The other thing that just strikes a chord, and I've just been looking at some stats lately, and is, you know, is to call for something, to call your customers when you're not having a sale, you know, to call for anything other than a sale. You know, we go after these clients and they're used to us answering the phone, or that you know, them answering the phone and us hitting them with our most latest, greatest. especially with some of these marketing companies that have gone in and depleted databases of customers. Why don't we try something different? Why don't we just try to say, hey, what you said, you know, I noticed you didn't come in for your service. Is there anything we can do? You know, that personal touch is so missing. And if we just be a little bit unpredictable, I think that we would be shocked at the results.
No, you're absolutely right, Brandy. Yeah.
So have you ever called the dealership lately, which everybody has, and gone, hi, welcome to XYZ Motors. For sales, press 1, service, press 2. And when you phone the place that somebody, a live person answers, it's, hello? Hello? So moving right along, Joe brought up something.
No one answers in service. I'm going to tell you that. No one answers in service. It's like getting finance or the business office to answer.
They're too busy.
And all they do is press 1 for sales. And the sales guys get pissed off because they go, well, we know you're hungry. You're going to answer the phone. Now maybe you can get me to somebody in the service department. But
by the way, that works when you have a complaint with a cell phone company. So the sales always answers. True. But you know, Tom Stuker
my challenge, right? Because this burned me when I was actually there. I went to Google. Google has a headquarters down the street here. And so when I was working with the factories, it was like, oh, come into the meeting. So we go into the meeting. They go, we're going to give you whatever Google has that matches Amazon's thing, some Google thing, hello Google thing. They said, we'll give a free one to the person who can go onto their own website and schedule a service visit the fastest. And you see all these GMs go, and then they're all like throwing their phone. And they're like, this is BS. How do I? And I'm like, if it takes you longer than 45 seconds, you've lost that customer. And their answer is, I'll just stop at the Jiffy Lube on my way down the street because they got somebody outside waving at me. Right. And they're like, look, we have open bays. But again, if you go onto your website, I just did this for my car right now. I was like, oh, I'm not in a dealership anymore. So I don't have the luxury of just handing it to somebody to get done. So I was like, let me go find the dealer closest to me and I was like, and my browser autofills most of my information. And it still took me like 4 minutes to schedule something. And it was like, and we're going to tell you it's going to cost you $300 for an oil change. And I'm like, well, of course you just scared the piss out of me right now. Right. And I'm like, why are we doing? And it's like, okay, have a button to say show what estimate is if you want to, but keep it hidden on your way through so that you don't $79 waving outside of somebody's business and you tell me 300, right? You've lost me. And you go, oh, but if you had looked through 7 pages of my website, you would see we match other people's specials. Right? It's really small font. It's the 4th asterisk. It gets smaller every time that says that. But again, we don't make a user experience that we would want to go through.
Yeah. What we do is we buy websites from companies, and these are companies that the manufacturers don't sponsor, but they approve, and it's all about selling cars. Now, if you want a better website, contact Ian at navthat.com. My good friend Ian Nethercott, but they have a better solution. Ian, I want $5.
I think Jeff, quickly to Brandy's point there.
Yes,
you know, I think the part of our industry was on their game when COVID hit, and they actually picked up the phone and they actually phoned and said, hey, is everything okay? Has anything on your budget changed? Do you need help with anything? Do you need deferred payments? There's 100 questions you could ask around COVID that had nothing to do with the actual illness itself, just to show that you actually give a shit. And really, back to Joe's, I love it. Gaming the system is just doing what you say you do and what you get good at. And you know, for me to receive a phone call from a dealership to say, hey, just touching base real quick to make sure, you know, it's going to get a little weird over the next few months, just making sure you're good here, you're good there. You know, Toyota's offering deferred payments for 3 months on a, you know, whatever. You don't have to buy a new car, or you do, or whatever. I at least might entertain the conversation. Or, hey, you know what? Thanks for checking in. Really appreciate it. You know, to Brandy's point, they're not trying to sell me a car bold and loud, but that might be the end result. But that's not the bold and loud statement that we're all making all of a sudden.
Well, to add to that, actually, I read a stat that it said something like 82% of customers don't know their salesperson's name after 1 year.
Yeah.
Pardon me. So here I am. I'm only looking for that next sale. I'm not looking to say, hey, how you doing? I'm not looking to say, do you know, like, what is it? 30% of people buying a car know somebody else that's buying a car. How about, you know, there's so much opportunity, but unless we lay it out for them, and I'm sorry, it does need that. People, you know, and that's why, you know, people like John has a process. You know, Joe has a company that allows you to partner up with stores that actually lay this out for you, right? The other thing I want to add just really quickly is another brilliant thing I've seen done is a car wash, an anytime car wash. You hire somebody to 15 bucks an hour. You pick one day of the week, you pick every day of the week. You want customers to come in your door, give them a free car wash. It is one of the cheapest things that you can actually do to get customers in your door.
Yeah, just to build on that real quick, we did that actually at one of the stores I was at. And what we would do is everybody had 20 of them. We would just randomly go through a Costco parking lot and put them under wipers. And you'd be blown away how many people would come in and say, this is a really nice touch. And it was a Honda store, and we'd give them to Toyotas, and we'd give them to everybody. And you know what? It just built such good rapport and good, strong relationship. It's a really strong idea too. Yeah.
Point of note to everybody that doesn't know Calgary, they got a really big uptick every time there was a Chinook that came through in the middle of the winter. And in Calgary, it's infamous for the fact it'll be 45 below zero at 9 a.m. and it'll be 45 above zero at 1 p.m. And there's 730 cars lined up at a car wash.
Honestly, Jeff, what we did is we figured out how many staff car washes we're doing and figured, why wouldn't we do those for the customer?
How many sales managers got their car washed every day?
Oh yeah, every day. Shifting gears a little bit, folks.
I'm going to duck out, guys. It was a good conversation. Jeff and I had the conversation ahead of time. Sorry to take away, but
thanks, Barry. Really appreciate you being here.
Bye, Barry.
All the best. So moving along here. So Joe mentioned something very interesting that put into one of my questions I'd written down about the pickup drop-off. And that's obviously become a very big deal, especially during COVID. But one of our conversations we had on another show with, it was a sales show, and people were talking about fighting the onslaught of the online retailers, the Carvanas of the world, etc. And one point you made is the fact that person's at work and this blue truck, I think Carvana trucks are blue, flatbed pulls up in front of their place. On the back is their 2014 Hyundai Elantra, and somebody in the receptionist is getting their new Elantra delivered to them like it's the CEO getting their Bentley. And Big's Carvana on the side, a nice person wearing a polo shirt, well groomed, says, let me go over your car. What a great thing. Same thing with the pickup drop off. They said, what's the matter? Is your car broken? No, I'm getting an oil change. Joe, can you expand on that, please?
So not all of us have the ability to lose $3,000 a rattle the way Carvana does, because we don't have venture capital money. Okay. But, you know, you can tell which side of the house I prefer.
I agree.
Yeah. And so, but one of the things too, is that if you look at it, it's about convenience. The bottom line is that, can I make it more convenient for the actual customer? Because Amazon is not the cheapest here. Okay. It is that you can go on eBay, find it, and have it shipped to your house, except I can just click the button on my phone and reorder something, right? And I watch this too, because I'm one of those nerdy people, where all of a sudden, after about 4 months of something on subscription, you get, this product is no longer available, but here's a replacement. Do you just want to click this button? And it's gone up $2, whatever it is. And it's a different brand that now Amazon owns, right? It comes through and I'm like, well, so my paper towels have gotten more expensive and are from a brand I don't know. And all you got to do is go search again on Amazon to find the one you had before, but they go, it's no longer available on subscription. Yeah, it is. You just have to go do some extra work, but it's about convenience, and they're bumping you for a couple dollars more per person, per subscription monthly, right? Or every other month, depending on your subscription. But again, why? It's a convenience. If it's me going to Target to get something, right? Or I'm going to click the button and get it tomorrow instead of today. Yeah, I can wait till tomorrow. It's more convenient for me not to have to go in and walk into a retailer where I'm going to spend more money by mistake, right, than I would if I just waited for the stuff to come into my house. But again, it's convenience. But are we doing the same thing? Like, I'm not a big fan of shuttle. Every dealership I ran, it was like I went and got the Uber, right, manager edition. That was the executive one where you can go in and mass populate stuff. So my service customers came out and they were like, when's the shuttle go? We go, oh no, we have an Uber for you right here. It cost me $6 per person. That's okay. So $15 is a hourly wage for a shuttle driver who's gone all day, right? Picking up 10, 12 people, right? I'm just going to go ahead and get them an Uber, send them away. They call back and go, I'm ready to be picked up. We're like, great, click, click, click. There's going to be an Uber out front, right? Look for them. And so but the convenience for the customer is I don't have to spend an hour sitting here getting pissed off, watching the sales guys smoke and spit and cuss, right, in the huddle. And now I don't want to come back to your dealership, right? Nowadays, right, again, my wife runs a dealership, and I have a lot of clients at dealerships where the person is sitting there complaining because somebody walked by without a mask on. And now you get Yelp reviews that says you don't have a mask on. And we're like, we're in the building, you're outside the building, and you're looking in the window, typing a Yelp review to say that someone inside you saw who got up from their desk to grab paper from the printer and sat back down, still behind the plexiglass, had their mask off, right? And so again, it's how are you controlling customer perception? How are they being introduced to the service department from the sales department? Are they going, in 6 months, come get your oil change, right? Guess what? As oil gets better and the manufacturer cost of ownership needs to keep going down, our intervals go crazy, right? I have a Volvo that's once a year or 10,000 miles whenever you do. That's so different than I grew up with every 3,000 miles or 90 days, right? 4 visits to service versus you don't have time to make a relationship with me with one service.
So question though, how does a dealership handle a terrible term, but it's an internal term, upsells, when you're sending a flat deck to pick up a car, the customer's getting an Uber to drive them away immediately. They're not sitting around. How do you handle that when you get back to the customer and say, by the way?
FaceTime and technicians using video.
Yeah,
So
there's I will say there's a really great tool out there. It's in the States, it's called SnapCell. In Canada, it's branded as virtual video. And it is an amazing tool for the upsell process for a service department. It gives them a, start stop ability to be with the vehicle at the time. So it doesn't matter if it's the tech, the writer, the foreman, it doesn't matter who's doing it. They can literally show the customer while the vehicle's up on the hoist and with no liability to the customer being in the shop. It's, and this is the other point, is working on it versus working in it. By working on it, you get to find these solutions. You get to vet these solutions out for the problems that are before you. And if you're not giving yourself the time to work on it, you'll get inundated otherwise, right?
Yep. I work with companies outside of just automotive, right? And so I have moving companies that as soon as COVID hit, right, their answer was all of the phone calls increased and everybody wants an estimate to move because they've got to move, and they all want to go to a state where they can pretend to be free. And so they're like, oh, let's do this. All we did was flip to WhatsApp for Android and FaceTime for iPhone. And then we ask the customer to walk through the house. So the person's walking through the house and they're like, hold on, how many drawers in that dresser? Okay, how heavy would you say this is? And they go through, and now we give estimates. The client is involved in it, right? So now it's way more believable. If you're calling me to say, right, what's the biggest thing? That service advisor is lying to me. Guess what? Not all of them are as ethical as we would like them to be. But if you're going to have a technician who's holding up a phone, right, and you can buy 4 phones, so it's always the dealership one, just go grab a phone and go do this, right, and go look at it. And that way the tech's not giving his own number and getting side jobs. But you look at it and go, okay, here's where it should be, and look at it, right? Well, let me show you what you hit on the freeway, evidently, right? Because this is damaged and you can see the scrapes all the way down and you go through it. And it's like, why do we do video walkarounds of the vehicle when we come into service? So I can prove to you later that yes, it was dented, right? It's a CYA program for us, but it's so that I can also say, do you want a detail? I can't see the paint, right? Upsell when you get into service. But when I look at that, it's how do you create trust? It's by the illusion of transparency, people. It doesn't have to be transparent. I don't have to show you cost and retail to say, well, I'm being transparent. No, the answer is here. This is what I'm doing. I'm not hiding from you. I am showing you that here's your car. This is what it looks like. And here it is. But go into your service database and text every one of your customers today that just says, hi, this is so-and-so, the service manager over here. Just want to make sure your car's running okay. Let me know if it's not.
I have a question for you.
Of course.
Is that a maple leaf on the back of your phone, on your phone case?
It was, yes.
There we go. It's not Canadian, but what the heck, eh?
Right.
We'll claim it anyway.
We'll claim it anyway.
I think
we
it was something to do
leaf.
with maple candy or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maple syrup too. And we're going to go a little bit longer than normally because I screwed up that unless anybody has to go right on the hour. But some very interesting points that we have here for increasing retention, increasing sales, because of course, retention and sales, funny enough, they go hand in hand. It's very interesting. And, you know, you mentioned about, Joe, you mentioned about trying to book a service appointment. I went to a mobile one once and I now get a email thing. Pardon me, my dogs are talking. I get an email once every 3 months from them and it says, click here, free wiper blades, and bing, I just have to hit enter and I've got an appointment at Mobile One. And I can drive in, get a coffee and a newspaper, whatever that is anymore. And
I read about
at a dealership, you got to go through 7 pages to book it. But when I was in sales and sales management, there was always one thing that I taught my salespeople. And that was to say, at the end of their talking to the customer, before they said, do you want to buy the car? If there was one thing holding you back from taking this car today, now, what would that one thing be? So tell me, if there was one thing that dealers could do right now to improve their customer retention, what would that one thing be?
So I'm gonna jump in and say it needs to be a better handoff from sales to service. Okay. So I was looking, sorry, Barry left, at gaming the system when I was running a dealership because the manufacturer had a question that says, were you introduced to service? I'm sorry, here we're open till 10 p.m. Service closes at 7 if we're lucky, right? Usually 6. So I've got all of my prime time selling is done after the service department is closed. So I would tell them to go take a picture of every one of their service advisors, hang it up on the wall. If you go to your whatever your stationery store is that you have near you, they have clear plastic wall mounted things that have business card holders in the front of them. You slide that picture of the advisor there. We made it a game. Okay, so we would walk up. So if Brandy's my client who just bought the car, I'd walk up and go, okay, Brandy, here's all of our service department. Now they're not here right now because they went home. Okay, so now we can judge them ourselves, just you and I. Okay, yeah. So let's look up at the pictures up here. Which one do you think you want to work with? Right, for your first oil change, right? And they go, oh, I want to work with Jamie because Brandy picked the woman. Right? Brandy's like, I like her bright red hair. I love her. Oh, get her. She goes, I want to go with Jamie. And then I would go, okay, well, Jamie, this is Brandy. Brandy, this is Jamie. Say hi. Right? And then Brandy goes, you want me to say hi to a picture? I'm like, absolutely. And then Brandy goes, hi, Jamie. And I go, oh, and Jamie wanted you to have her card. She's shy. She doesn't want to talk right now. And I hand you a card. Right? My scores go through the roof because when you get to the survey that says, were you introduced to service? They're like, this fool made me say hi to a picture. Yes, I was introduced to service.
The first thing though, Joe, not everybody is as fun as you. And that is a culture that is in its own, you know, those people that are not, or that don't have even that culture of making it fun and making it unique. And it really starts with that, right? And you know, you're a guy that you could put.
If you make buying a car logical, This is the first time ever, guys, that we have, like, I grew up with, you either bought a Ford or a Chevy. You don't want to look at an import, right? And it was like, what? And then you go, oh, if I'm going to do import, it's Honda, Toyota, right? That's who I compete with. Nowadays, I go into a client who's a Toyota store, and the customer goes, well, it's either this or the Chevy Malibu. And I'm like, foul. You don't get to mix it like that. We only have our competition is in our own niche here. Come on. But again, we don't take the approach to say, hey, it's open, right? If they're going to buy a car, it's going to be logical. If I can make it fun, you come back, right? We don't want something. If you walk in and the waitress looks at you and goes, hi, here's the special. You need a minute? And you're like, yeah, give me a minute. If the person walks up and goes, hi, hon, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to go do, and then wants to make it more engaging, right? We go back to places where they remember us. The food doesn't even have to be killer. It's the service that matters. And if the service matters, right? Do you have a system that tells your salespeople, guess what? Your customer's coming in for service tomorrow, so you can go say hi, right? I'll take 5 phone calls off of your daily call total that you have to make if you can prove you said hi to that customer.
Yeah.
Right? Go out in the service drive, take a selfie with that customer, and I'll give you 5 less phone calls to make for the day, because you hate making phone calls. That's why we built a BDC, right?
I have to tell you something. I work with a small dealer out here, and one day I was helping him, and he had a Caddy SRX that they couldn't figure out what was wrong with. And I was out there, and it was a busy day, and they asked if I could run it down to the Caddy dealer for him. They had an appointment. So I take it down. This particular Caddy dealer is tiny for especially your area, an American dealer, but it's sitting on 6 acres of land, and it's a fairly good sized store. I pull into the drive-through. I go over the Hunter little thing that you drive over. It tells you your tread wear and your brake wear. And there's a guy sitting at a desk. Yeah, pull up ahead. So I pull up ahead, get out of the car, and I stand there. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what to do. Nobody has said hello to me. I see 6 eyes behind glass, 30 feet away, looking at me. Nothing. I stand there for 10 minutes. Finally, I walk up.
You're a little slow, Jeff.
Sorry?
You're a little slow.
You know what? Part of me was saying, how long would it take? Yeah. I wasn't a regular customer. Let me just see how screwed up these guys are.
Yes.
I finally walk up to somebody, and they go, oh, let me see. Oh, yeah, you're with Fred. Fred will be back in a minute. Sorry, guys. My dog's really pissed off.
Dog doesn't like Fred.
Exactly. So then I go back, and finally Fred shows up, and I go, geez, man, I've been standing. He says, hey, sorry, buddy. He said I was on my break. I said, well, couldn't he help me? No, we don't do that. Okay. I leave the car. I go walk into the showroom. He says, yeah, just go inside and have a seat. And of course, it's COVID, so every chair's 6 feet apart, 30 feet apart for every 4th chair. And I go into the showroom, and I walk around. Now, I don't look like I'm a big shot, but the first thing I do is go to a Canyon pickup. Didn't go to the Corvette, didn't go to the Caddy, to the Canyon pickup, which is low-hanging fruit. Nothing. Make a long story short, I was there for an hour and a half before I heard anything. As I'm leaving, I see the service manager, is a service manager I used to work with. And I told him, I says, dude, what's going on? He says, hey, we're busy. I said, okay. And you know what? I'd go anywhere else but there. But anyway, final comments.
But we're busy now means I won't treat people right, so I can be busy later.
Exactly.
And it's excused. Being busy is an excuse for being terrible. And I'm so tired of hearing that too. And blaming other departments for that lag is also, and sorry too, I know you want to wrap up, but I'm going to add one more thing.
I'll stay here all day.
Okay. I was car shopping with my niece, who I just got a job in sales as well. So part of this, every training I believe should start with car shopping. You should actually go out and you should see what your competition is. And you should see how easy it will be to stand apart and how easy it will be to make yourself memorable. But so while we're there, I had postponed this appointment twice, once by 2 days and once by 4 hours. So just to give you a little preface of how much time she actually had to get the vehicle ready. Our appointment was for 2. I got the automatic text to say, yes, appointment is set. Are you in? Yes, I am. So obviously the salesperson's being informed if I hadn't already been clear. We get there and she says, you know what? I'm just grabbing it from the other lot. Okay. That's bullshit. It's such a disregard for everybody else's time. No problem. I'm going to let that go. We are standing in the showroom for 20 minutes. Not a single person says one word to us. They are all walking around. There's a bunch of asshole sales managers at the tower hovering. Such an intimidating, and I don't get intimidated, as I'm sure you can tell, but such an intimidating act that it was, and no comfort at all to us being there. When my niece sees the vehicle in the parking lot, she says, empty, it's there. It's been there for like 10 minutes. We go out. What is she doing? She's wiping the vehicle down. What the fuck?
And I'd also like to point that Jeff and John owe me $10 because they said I would cuss long before Brandy on this live show. Thank you.
Let me tell you, Joe, I've been biting my tongue. Just so we're aware, I've been biting my tongue. But that, I was infuriated. And it's such bullshit. And she tried to blame other people. And now if I was just anybody, not knowing how the back end of the side worked, I would listen to her and say, yeah, that's bullshit. Your detail department didn't do that for you? No, sweetie, you didn't do that.
Disclaimer point, the Auto Hub show does not necessarily condone the wording of our guests, but shit, yeah, no, sorry, but...
Sorry.
Right, I think it was bullshit Brandy cussed. I'm just going to say that.
Good, thank you. Please be second, Joe, please be second. Anyway, it was a joke. And we people are sloughing off the excuse to other departments, and that's not okay. That, like you said, are we just trying to hit this quota? What's our quota? Let's just talk about what the quota is rather than the customer experience. And that truly is where retention on everything else falls. It really is.
You know, some of the best salespeople I ever had did all this COVID stuff way before COVID ever existed. They'd pick up, they'd drop off, they had cars ready, they called people, etc. All of a sudden the world learns it, but they only learned it for 3 months. That dealer was jumping on every service customer because instead of having their every bay full, they had a third of their bays full and they were scrambling for business and everybody got treated well. And we thought we learned, but maybe we didn't.
I will tell you that I worked for an owner and this taught me a lot. The owner said to me, you're the GM of the store. If any customer gets to me, I'm giving them whatever they want. And I was like, okay, he goes, so handle it at your level, right? Because it's going to be there. So if you're going to go, oh man, the owner gave it away, unwound the whole vehicle and we just lost $5,000 gross, then why didn't I give up $2,000 worth of gross and keep 3 of it? And then I taught every one of my managers service, parts, and all the sales managers. And I said, if they get to me, I'm giving it to them. And they're like, oh man, you sound like the owner. I said, I know. And guess what happened? Customer satisfaction scores went through the roof, right? I know how to game a system, but I also know how to play the game. And when you do both, your scores go through the roof and your customers keep coming back. And they're like, oh my goodness, right? I'll tell you one time I didn't. First day we open. Okay. And this is a funny one. John's going to go, Joe's a jerk. We're okay. Right. First day we opened as new ownership, we ran out of coffee cups. Nobody tells me, right? We have all the coffee. We brought in all of this. I brought in my own personal coffee makers that my wife had bought, like 4 pots that she takes them with her wherever store she goes to, right? For her finance department. And I'm like, okay, we put these in here. I get a Yelp review. It alerts me on my phone that these people say, oh my goodness, this place is so out of control. How do I know they even changed my oil? They have no coffee cups. So I get this and I go, what? And I go running into the service lounge and start yelling this guy's name. I'm like, hey, you here? You here? I'm like, there's 3 people here. I'm just yelling at 3 people and it's not him. And I'm like, what? So I answer back on Yelp. Hey, I'm in my service lounge right now looking for you, right? Somebody just took my American Express to go down to the store to buy more coffee cups. You missed it by 3 minutes. Where are you? Right? The guy answers back, I left and went to another dealership to get coffee, right? Even though his car's in my service department. I'm like, what? right? So he went back and forth, left me with a 1 star at the time we're done. And on Yelp, we're having an argument on why my question was, me not having cups in my customer lounge, what does that have to do with the technician changing oil? How do I know you even have oil filters back there? How do I even know you have this and you have, and I was like, I don't get that. So I accidentally went on Amazon, ordered 1,000 cups and had it drop shipped to his house.
Yeah.
Anonymously.
You know,
it was a complete accident.
You said something very interesting there. It's about customers. It's not about scores. And, you know, to rig the system that we talked about. And it's a very interesting thing because retention's all about making money. And Barry said this earlier too. We'll spend $500 to bring a new customer in, and we won't spend $8 to bring somebody else in. And you know, you mentioned coffee. Yeah. When I first started selling cars a long time ago, I won't admit it, the dealer in Calgary that I worked for said, offer them a coffee. Always offer a coffee. You come back after test driving a car, sit down with them, say, let me get you a coffee. Even if they don't drink it, they appreciate that. Final comments, anybody? We went a little bit long, and I appreciate your patience through my lovely tech mess ups. But parting comment, Brandy?
I just want to make note that John is no longer muted, and I really want to hear what John has to say.
Oh, we're in trouble now.
John's got the Einstein vibe going on, and
by the way, before he says anything,
networks, and he looks like Einstein.
Is another disclosure coming on here?
Here's a disclosure: John has dulcet tones. Please go ahead, John. Now you're mad. Now you can't hear you. You're not muted. Your lips are moving. Now you're muted. But he looks good.
Right.
He looks good.
So basically, you did the master control and turned off his.
I didn't do nothing.
I like that.
I didn't do that. Anyway, John, thank you. Please type it in the comments. We should let everybody go here. Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much for joining us. Brandy, it was actually quite nice having an all new panel here, and
thank you.
We look forward to hearing John's dulcet tones on every show because John's one of our biggest fans. Thank you. Thank you very much. Your input was great. We will have this recorded. It'll be coming out on podcast. Probably won't be till later in the week because I have no clue how to do it. and Ian's still away. And thank you so much for joining us. And your input was phenomenal. And if anybody
wants the customer appreciation script, just email me.
I do.
Okay. Sounds
Can
good.
you hear me now?
There we go. I told you that dulcet tones. Pardon me.
The best for last, John.
I don't know if you know.
Listen, I had the wrong microphone on. I wasn't paying attention. One of the things I wanted to comment on, when we're talking about retention, I certainly think that employee retention plays a part in customer retention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And if we can't hold on to our employees, it just makes it more difficult to hold on to customers.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's actually when you'll see often where the process lags is any turnover creates such a huge disruption in everything. That is something to be said. And also, having these tools in place for the dealers to actually, even for their staff to be able to know that support is there is the utmost importance, right? So awesome.
Thank you all again. Thanks, John. And have a fantastic day. And we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Take care.
God bless everyone.
Thanks.